Test myself.
1, 2. All good. Hustlers and Enterprise. I suspect we might have glitches, but I think we're good to go. Let's see what's happening. So you're live on Hustlers and Free Enterprise. Thursday, we're back with popular demand. We've been off air for a while for some technical glitches that we've had, but eventually we've made it back to these waves. It's always good to have you here, listeners. And tonight we're streaming live on all our platforms, Facebook, YouTube. And if you are streaming for the first time, we really welcome you to our show. It's Hustlers and Free Enterprise. Come to think of it, it's been a couple of months, it's been 2. Let's see what's happening here. Okay, let's see. It's been a couple of months that we've been live in Cape Town. And I must say, our radio show is gaining momentum. On Mondays, you pick up Ulungiswa Nyatyo Aoshe, who helps us with African life, or This African Life. And on Tuesdays, if I'm not mistaken with my times, then you pick up Bongani Mgai with social justice. Social justice. Talking about social justice, in 2020, I met a very friendly doctor in Cape Town who had made a lot of noise and buzz during COVID-19. So I met him in Kailicha. Very friendly chap. He approached me. And at the time, he was really going around enlightening people and helping people to understand what COVID-19 is. And I was thoroughly confused about this whole COVID-19 thing. And he was really going into the streets of Cape Town, making sure that our communities are acutely aware of what COVID-19 was. Little did I realize that I'd built a lifetime friendship with the guy. So to this day, we've met each other once then, and we've been communicating on WhatsApp now and again. And I've been keeping track of what he's doing, and he's been doing the same with me. I'm glad to welcome you in our show, Randall. It's always a great pleasure to interact with you and to, okay, let me put it this way. He insists on being called Dr. Randall Ortel. Randall, please, man, welcome to our show, man.
No, thanks, Thembisile. Thanks for having me.
I hope and trust that our listeners at home can pick up the audio and everything. Let's see how it goes. If there's anything, I know our executive producer who's up in East London will definitely let us know if there's anything that we need to improve on. But to this end, we are of a view that we are audible. And if there's anything that is not there, we'll probably pick it up.
Sure.
Renz, how are you doing, man? The last time I spoke to you, you were up in some country. Where were you? Malawi? Where were you?
No, I was in Tanzania. So I think you called me without warning. So I was a bit surprised that I received a call from South Africa and my roaming was down, which means we needed to speak, you know.
We needed to speak,
Yeah.
man. Like, where is this guy? I think I must have said you must bring me something down.
Yeah, you did say, but I didn't manage to go to the ANC headquarters.
That's a good one.
So,
Man, it's good to have you in studio. And you and I spoke about this when I was planning on having a show with you a couple of weeks ago, and finally it's happening.
Yeah. So no, thanks for having me, Thembisile. I was excited. You know, today when I couldn't reach you, I was worried. I thought, hey, this is a hoax. And my followers were asking me, hey, Doc, what's happening? We haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah.
So and you know, my caption on my status was some big announcements will be coming tonight. So I'm also on TikTok here, and I already got 100 followers on my TikTok as well.
Watching the show as we speak.
Watching the show, yeah. I'll turn the camera to so that they can see you now, Thembi. So
no worries.
I'm not speaking to myself.
No worries.
I'm happy to be here and I'm excited.
Yeah.
I've been off social media for about a month.
Oh, nice.
2 weeks, 6 weeks, but there's reasons for that, so we'll probably get into that.
And how is it going with followers?
No, look, I mean, I don't have any issues when it comes to followers. I think my content is relevant.
Yeah.
And, you know, less is more. So I try and keep it as simple as possible because at the end of the day, who's my clients? It's patients. I keep on telling
Absolutely.
the other doctors, we went to medical school,
Yeah.
not the patients.
Uh-huh.
So you can't ask the patients, why
That-
didn't you come earlier, or why do you wait so long, etc. I find those questions futile because people are not trained.
Mm, mm. And we see Randall now here, medical doctor, and all the beautiful work you do. You came very instrumental. I mean, I admired your bravery when you were walking the streets of Khayelitsha and you said to me, dude, I'm coming from Meidenberg. I'm going all over the premier. Ellen Winde, by the way, Ellen was, and I know I'm digressing, Ellen was there when we were launching Keith Ngesi Radio, gave us his blessings, so it was beautiful. So, and I was thinking, Randall is passionate. Here is Randall, please. I know, the show itself, it's Hustlers and Free Enterprise. So we focus on hustlers, and many people have this notion of thinking hustlers are only within the framework of business,
Yeah.
and so forth. And we're trying to challenge that narrative to say, look, extends further than that. And in your space, I read some stories that you've shared with me, and I'd like you to just tell us, who is Randall? And where are you coming from? And did you wake up being a doctor? Tell us about it, please.
Yeah, no, thanks for that question. So, look, if people always ask me who am I, it always gives me an opportunity to mention my township, where I come from, and I'm proudly from Menenberg, on the Cape Flats. Some people call it Chachi's, some people call it Gangster's Paradise. I'm proud to say I'm from Menenberg.
Awesome.
Born and bred there, raised there, played in the cement roads. The other day I was also telling somebody, you don't see those cement roads having potholes. That's
Still
solid cement, it's a yellow bone cement, it's a yellow bone cement. So there's no potholes there. It gets the cracks here and there, but it's still quite strong. Yeah, so I went to Primrose Park Primary, which is in Menenberg. If I look back, teachers say I love school. I think I did as well. More for the kids and the friends, not really for the academics, but at the end of the day, I still did well, first in class, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And then I managed to get to a school called Rhodes High in Mowbray. So I did my high school career there. And then, I think I just loved school.
Sure.
I loved mathematics. And I want to say to the listeners out there, maybe there's some young kids and so forth. So I love pure maths. Well, that time it was maths higher grade. I'm not sure. I think it's pure maths now and maths lit.
Yeah. There's that in between.
But in my opinion, with maths lit, what can you do? It's 2 + 2. That's it. They don't ask you to turn the twos around, how much it will give you.
Yeah.
So, I went to Rhodes High School, and then I think I did well in school, and then I got into medical school, Stellenbosch University. So I'd like to say the rest is history.
Wow. No, I'm very happy.
Yeah.
Was it easy, though, to go through the process of varsity life and stuff like that? Look, being a student in maths, I suspect you attracted some few attention, but was it easy? You want to tell us a bit? And there, what we want to build on is really the aspect of hustling as well, Please.
Yeah. So look, anything in life that is worth it is not easy, right? So, I even had difficulty going to high school because I came from a primary school which was in Menenberg. Going to a formal Model C school, which is outside of the area.
Yeah.
There's people from different backgrounds, different areas. I really struggled in grade 8. That was the first time I got like E's and D's, for subjects. And the first thing I discovered is that I couldn't read. Well, okay, let me not say I couldn't read. I could read, but I wasn't probably reading at the pace or with the comprehension that one should be in grade 8. And I quickly had to catch up, So already there it wasn't easy because I left most of my friends behind in the community school, going to these former Model C schools. So, I was trained to be a loner, if you call it that way, and then obviously make new friends all the time. So that's also never easy, going from a comfortable environment and then having to make new friends. But, we gel along and we've got endurance and resistance. And then, going to medical school, I think that was really, really tough. With all the excitement that was there, it was just tough. There's nobody stands behind you. You expected to know. They give you a timetable, and that's it.
And then you have to swim
you have to find yourself.
Wow.
Bursaries, those type of things. You need to go and ask. People don't come to you and say, "Dude,
Here's what we have.
Yeah, we think you need something. Here's something for you now. I mean, you needed to hustle, you need to find out. And people might relate with me. I mean, if you get to these tertiary institutions, the competition is actually tight amongst people.
It's hectic.
Inside.
It's hectic. Tell me about it. It's hectic to a point whereby if you are not strong enough, it will suffocate you to a point of no return. Yeah, if you just joined us, we are coming to you live from Cape Town. It's radio according to you, Keith and Guess Radio. If you have, if you do not have the handle, please do download our app. It's Keith and Guess Radio, and you'll catch us live on our platforms there. With our guest now tonight, Randall, Dr. Randall Ortel, and we're broadcasting live in Cape Town. Not tough. The challenges, the varsity challenges. Hey, let's greet the TikTok. Yeah, yeah, thanks, Rand. So tell me now, I mean, not tough, the competition in varsity and suffocating and stuff like that. Please share some light there.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, okay, so firstly, the finances is an issue. So, I mean, you need to register.
Sure.
You don't register with no money. So I think that's the first day I saw my dad sweating. Where they said, look, dude, you need to pay 14,000 rand. And that was in 2003. My dad's normally, it depends which day you catch him. He's either cool, calm, and collected, or he's fiery red. But that day, he was in the middle. I didn't know what was happening. The man was just sweating. But eventually, he took out his checkbook at that time. They write these blank checks. I don't know what you call it, non-transferable, whatever. And he paid it, and poop, I got my student card. Hey, after that, I needed books and everything. The minute I said I needed anything extra, I'm not sure if he heard me or if he just ignored me. And then I realized, things are becoming tough, and I needed to hustle. So, I hustled at university, asked the profs, what is there to do, etc. So, I mean, we have these anatomy museums, where we cut the cadavers. We call it cadavers, but it's obviously dead bodies, and it's real bodies.
Sure.
That either gets donated to the university, or it's people that donated their bodies themselves for medical science. So,
that must be a scary side. Is that for the anatomy or something that you guys?
But look, I mean, I'm from Manenberg. I needed to show my muscle,
How to skin
so I always make sure there's somebody else in the room with me. As soon as I'm alone, no, I'll pack up and go.
Check the hand, jumping down the floor.
So and then we managed to bring schools to the anatomy museum at that time. Students paid like 5 rand to visit, and it went to the university, but the profs would obviously sort of help me along here or there. So there was a lot of hustling in between until I became 21, and I said no, now I'm going to drive a taxi. That's where the whole thing started. I couldn't drive before because you needed a PDP.
Randall, was this happening while you were still with the program?
Yes.
When you went to drive, what was your route, by the way?
It was from Manenberg to town. So Manenberg, going past Gatesville, Rylands, Athlone, Mowbray, all the way up the main road, Salter River, Woodstock to town. So this main road where we are in now here, Queen's Park. This used to be my factory trips,
Are you serious? I once had an altercation with the taxi conductor in this road. I've got some experience, but I'll tell you some other time. Okay.
So the conductor is the guy that shouts at the door.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're giving away where you're from, because when I was in Tanzania, they call it the conductor. In Cape Town, we call it the gachi.
The gachi.
or if you want to use proper English, we'll say the shouter.
Yeah, in Xhosa we say gachi.
Gachi, yeah.
Gachi. No, that's cool. So hustling, driving, and you needed to take care of some financial obligations and probably looking after your dad because if you didn't want to be just heavy on his finances. And how did this take you in terms of your school? How did you balance the two? And how was this? What was the success of your hustling?
So it was okay. Let's start with the latter. I can tell you I was really successful. I can't say how much money I make just now. SARS come after me.
Yeah, careful. So, I don't want those things. We live on Keith Gessie radio station and broadcasting from Cape Town with in studio tonight. We've got Dr. Randall Ortel, and he's sharing his experience and how he has made it to where he is today. We met a couple of years ago, it is actually a couple of, it's 2023 now. 2020 was it feels like it's been ages, but but we're with him now tonight, and we're happy and we celebrate his life because we know how he had to be brave to be there and show up in the very heavy peaks of COVID-19, and he's sharing his experience and how he had hustled as a student to make sure that he pulls all the strings and in support of his journey of becoming a doctor. Hustling, please. You were successful. Don't mention numbers. Please. I'm sorry, I keep interjecting. I have to make sure that our listeners are tuned into the storyline as we unpack it.
Yeah. So look. Okay. So firstly, I needed to be quite clear.
Sure.
When I told my parents, look, I need to have an extra hustle here and drive a taxi or something.
Yeah.
The first response was, of course, no, especially for the community we live in. They obviously had their fears, and I needed to motivate them and say, don't worry, I'll make it. I'm from the area, people know me. I know the gangsters. People were in school with me, so nothing stops you from going to them. Or when they do encounter me, I think I can be able to defend myself. And they eventually agreed because I didn't want to do anything without my parents, as much as we are adolescent and, because if they said, I've warned you, that's the words that hurts you the most.
Yeah.
Anyway, they gave their permission. And then I needed to search where I'm going to actually drive a taxi, because no taxi driver will give you the taxi on weekends because that's the time everybody makes money. So I then found a couple that does school transport, and luckily they had all the operating licenses and so forth. So the vehicle was available on a Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday, and that would fit it perfectly for me. So when I was at medical school, I would go to class or to campus like Mondays to Thursdays. Make sure I take the last bus back home, like maybe at 6.
Sure.
Get home, have a quick. That time it was a bath. In a container.
Sure.
There's nothing of bubble baths.
Don't worry.
It's in and out.
You can't preach to the code. I know. Those are my beasts. Don't worry. That's my background.
There's more soap than water on you. So
better to rinse it off.
Yeah. And then I think at that time my staple diet was bread and peanut butter.
For sure.
So,
Standard.
We made it work.
Yeah,
one day
standard.
thick, one day it's thin, one day's butter, one day's no butter.
Yeah.
So and then put back into the books. So I always made sure that I studied at least till 12 or 12 midnight or 1 a.m. And then up in the morning, obviously at 5, to catch the first bus to the hospital.
Sure.
And then, so that was my routine, Mondays to Thursdays. Fridays, I would go to university, but around 10 or 11 in the morning, I would make sure I come back, because by 12 o'clock, the taxi is available when the schools close early.
Sure.
And then I'm on the road with my guy. So on a Friday, I could squeeze in at least 4 trips from Manenberg to town and 4 return trips back. So it became easier as people started to know my routine.
Yeah.
And people started to see me more often on a Friday. So I used to make sure, so normally these factories knock off at about 1,500 in the afternoon, 1,600 on a Friday. So you would quickly make sure you would get a load here, 20 people on the freeway to Manenberg, takes you 10 minutes.
And there lies a lesson, I think, for the hustlers who are listening from anywhere, By the way, I'm not sure whether you're aware, as you know, YouTube, Facebook, and other platforms give us the liberty of being available in multiple countries. I think there's a lesson there that one can learn, because you had to start this, call it access and availability of transport around those times. And you had to sustain it. And I'm picking up the word consistency there. You had to be consistent so that people know that Randall will be here.
Yes. So that's actually the secret, I needed to make sure that I was visible all the time, and I needed to make sure that I was on time, and I needed to make sure that I've got good customer skills.
Sure.
So making sure the taxi is always neat, making sure you always smell great, even though you didn't have the best clothes. I didn't have the best name brands at that time, but you were clean, you were well spoken. Seats were always wiped down.
Sure.
I would always tell the shelter, the Gachi, when he sees the people start coming, hey, just wipe the seats. So people feel honored,
sure.
That, hey, they're even cleaning the seats before we get in. So, it was that attraction. So if there was 2 Manenberg taxis next to each other, sometimes I would just walk away. My taxi would fill up by itself, because people know who's the driver.
They know.
So I just avoid conflict, I just walk away. I wait till the taxi is full. I get in, I start, and we go, The sliding door operator will still pick the other guy or the other taxi,
sure.
or that type of thing. All in good spirit. But again, it comes down to the people skills. So yes, I needed to be consistent. I needed to be on time. But in the beginning, I was just driving.
Sure.
And it seems like it was all futile.
Uh-huh.
And just about when you about to change your routine, people start, getting used to you. And they're like, we always see you at 3 o'clock. We always see you at 3:45. We always see you at 1500. That type of thing. And then I stuck to my routine. And the rest was history. So that's why I said, sorry, before I forget this,
Go for it.
So I'm not covering for taxi drivers now. But there's a reason why they drive the
No.
way they do.
You're actually helping me to pick up perspective there,
Yeah.
but please go for it. I'd like to hear.
So remember, the people in the taxi is always late.
Yeah.
The passengers in the taxi, they always give you the perception they are late.
And you have to do something about it.
So imagine you've got 20 people in your taxi and you are one driver. The pressure of those 20 people being late, going to lose their job, the boss going to complain, and all sorts of things. Do you understand?
Sure.
So people sometimes don't understand the pressure that you have as a driver because somebody overslept or somebody is late, or it's somebody else's problem. But now it becomes yours. So drivers didn't drive the way they do. I'm not saying it's the right thing.
No, I'm with you.
I'm just giving you perspective.
I'm with you.
The other thing is you got to be at strategic points at strategic times, right? The other point I want to make is sometimes we stop on a red line because that's the safest place for the passenger to actually get off.
Makes sense.
If you go 100 meters further, drop them at the
bus
bus stop, they got to walk over a field or they got to walk back to the traffic light to cross the road. They can get robbed in the process. So those are all the things that you become savvy with when you drive a taxi. Sometimes you go off route. So your operating license says, look, you need to stay on this road.
Yeah.
So sometimes what you do is, let's say you come close to a school, you got young kids with you. You just turn a short left, first right, drop the kids in front of the school gate, come out again. Book, traffic cops will be waiting there. So you're off route.
Yeah. Why are you here?
Why are you here? So now you explain to them. Well, here and there you get the guys that's got common sense. I think it's also just about the approach. So, I'm soon going to write a book or launch a book. So that's maybe one of the big announcements that I got sponsored by Stellenbosch University.
Awesome.
And I want to mention them. It's the social impact unit.
Okay. Who's leading the social impact? I mean, if you don't mind sharing.
I see the names now.
Yeah. No. Don't worry. I won't hold you to it.
And I was dealing with Dr. Slamang. There was Mr. Topley.
Okay.
There was a lady, Maya Adams.
Yeah.
I'm just getting to see all the other names on the email. And then in the process, I also managed to meet the business school chief, Dr. Bam.
Dr.
Bam or Bam.
Yeah.
So that's the first big announcement that made the funding available.
Awesome.
And now the hard work probably starts.
And what will be the book titled if you have concluded those basics?
Look, I'm such a community-driven person. I'll probably put out a survey in the community and ask people what do they think the book's name should be.
Okay.
But Manenberg will feature definitely in the book.
No, definitely.
I mean,
we can't forget about our origin.
That's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer.
So that's maybe one of the first big announcements. There's still a few others left, depending on which way the conversation goes.
No, to this end, we're doing very well. It's 1923. You are live on Keith Ngesi Radio. And tonight we are hosting Dr. Randall Ortel. We've been inspired by his works and his hustling works in particular. He's hustled as a student and he's still hustling to this day. I'd be naive not to ask you, is there any hustling happening besides, of course, seeing to your patients today? And if you are in a position to share, by all means, but if you do not, we'll respect that.
Yeah. Okay, where does one start? I'm always hustling.
Sure.
It doesn't always mean I get paid financially, but I get paid by human capital. I always try to bring resources back to my community. So whether I'm hustling by getting students into university, whether I'm hustling by getting people a job, whether I'm hustling by getting people to improve their CV, whether I'm hustling by connecting somebody to an opportunity. In fact, I want to quote what one of the pastors said to where I was invited to a church service on Sunday.
Okay.
It actually made sense. Maybe I can mention his name. He's a good guy. His name is Hilton Peterson. Originally from Ashton, now lives in Johannesburg. He said, we don't have these water spirits nowadays. There is an element of flesh involved in opening a door.
Okay.
So if you think about that carefully, it is actually true. You need somebody to connect you.
Oh, definitely.
So the other thing that sticks to mind is when you come from these communities and you make it out, you become a conqueror.
Aha.
But I want to be more than a conqueror. So somebody asks me always, so what is more than a conqueror? I always tell them, when you've made it out,
Sure.
you go back to go and fetch the rest.
Yes, definitely.
So that's my hustle. So I get tired by doing a lot of things. It doesn't always generate into money, but it generates into helping the next family along. It generates into, whether you like it or not, it gives me popularity, which is not my main focus, but it comes with the territory, unfortunately. People know you.
Absolutely.
People reach out to you. I get calls from anywhere in the world or anywhere in the country sometimes and says, Randall, we think you're the best guy that can set us up, or do you know somebody there, etc. And I say, look, by all means, here's the numbers, let's
do it.
So you cannot build an empire alone.
No, definitely. And if you try to do it alone, you'll break. And we lift as we rise, isn't it? And in the process of lifting as we rise, we're creating impact and we're scaling. It's the game of scaling.
Yeah.
Exponentially or organically, it doesn't matter, but you scale. And in that framework, we help many people. Now, there's many who think that becoming a doctor is, I've made it, so what? What inspires you to continue wanting to do and to achieve these things that you're achieving?
So I think the first thing that inspires me, and maybe I want to just thank my Creator, and I'll say God because I'm Christian. People shouldn't be deceived by the beard.
So when I saw Ortel, I didn't think any otherwise.
Yeah, I am a Christian. There's nothing wrong with the other religions, but I just want to thank God for giving me this inquiring mind. I'm never satisfied with what I get first time. I always go around the corner. I always try and read up. I always try and test theories. I always try and prove theories. So that keeps me going because the more you know, the more you want to find out. The second thing is you should always try to put yourself in a favorable position where you can help the next person. So if you don't have anything to give, you can't help.
Sure.
Okay, so that's the one thing. Another analogy I looked at is that somebody also mentioned is once you are able to fill up the storehouse, once you move and you are able to fill up the storehouse, it means there's an abundance, which means you can share from the storehouse. So the more I move, the more I know who's coming behind me, the more I know who I can share with. And it's almost like whenever I'm throwing things back, to people, they push me forward.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think I'm in a favorable position. So where my name, whether I like it or not, people like my name. People reach out to me. I find favor where I come. And it's not that I'm conceited or anything. I think I'm just more humble because people actually recognize you wherever you go. And they can see what I do. I literally just put it back. You can go to the Manenberg, you can ask people about me. They'll probably point you out whatever I've done for them. I don't keep book. I don't keep record.
Absolutely.
Of what I do. But if I see the next person moves, there's already three. There's one qualified doctor also from Manenberg. It's a female. Maybe she wouldn't want me to mention her name. The other two was on medical school.
Wow.
I just had a call from somebody now before walking in here. They're busy with the application form to Stellenbosch University for medicine. They just had a question or two. And you can see the time. It's after hours.
And you're there.
I'm answering my phone,
And you're
I'm
there.
hustling, I'm helping. I just told him I'll call him back in the next hour because I just need to attend to this for now. And then the last thing I wanted to say is, you are right. If the general society looks at us and say, you're a doctor, you made it. They think we've got money, or they equate money to it. You must remember for us working as a doctor, the work is strenuous.
Absolutely.
So the more you qualify yourself, the more you can find yourself maybe in a more specialist field, with more differentiated patients. So that's why people specialize. You become a cardiologist, you only work with the heart. You become an ophthalmologist, you only work with the eyes.
Absolutely.
You become an orthopod, you only work with the bones. Because the amount of workload, people grow exponentially. Hospitals don't.
Uh-huh.
So I'll say that again.
Yeah. And
People are growing exponentially. Hospitals don't. Wherever you go, there's new developments going up. You don't hear that the hospital is extending because there's a new development coming. You don't hear that.
Talk about that. I'm thinking, and I'm taken back to the COVID-19 days. You all remember when the issue of beds at City ICC, where you were last week, they were talking about how many beds were there. I mean, they were intending to put a couple of beds, and there were 1,000 beds that were to be. That's when I actually realized for the very first time that the capacity of hospitals, the ratio between the population that you have, I mean, nationwide, compared to hospitals, it's very skewed.
Yeah, exactly. So I was telling one of my doctors this morning, the people that actually make it to hospital.
Sure.
It's actually the people that don't deserve to be there.
Uh-huh.
The people that's not making it is the people that deserves to be there. So it sounds confusing, but if we look at South Africa, there's a lot of demographic issues that plays a role. Some people might not have access to a hospital, but they are dead sick at home. They don't have money, or there's some sort of issue they can't access.
Yeah.
So that's the inequalities that we deal with. But something interesting that I always ask people as an icebreaker, maybe I'll ask you as well. Do you know how many schools there are in South Africa? Public and private combined, primary, high school combined. Do you know how many schools there are in South Africa?
One would have to go and work that out.
Now it's also part of guessing. That's part of, or estimating. That's what they call it in higher grade maths. Estimate.
Can't do this to my listeners. They're going to check me out and say, "Hey, look, this guy is."
No,
but let's try.
Any number.
Let's think. Sure. Private and public schools. Please, listeners, do Google and check out what's happening there. But give or take, who wants to try? We've got some in studio tonight. Who wants to try? Schools, public schools in 6.5.
Okay.
The XT. Smooth. How many? Public schools. Public. How many public
and private
schools?
Together in South Africa. Schools, primary and high school together. Okay, so if you Google it, it comes to about 25,500. Rounded off.
All right.
How many hospitals in South Africa, public and private together?
The fun is that.
No, it is less than that, yeah. But how far?
Probably about 2,000.
There's about 5,000 hospitals. 5,500 hospitals in South Africa. There's 25,000 schools.
Medical personnel, can imagine.
So, I'm not a politician. I mean, you mentioned Alan Windy's name is our premier, and that's where I worked when we got each other with a vaccine program.
Sure.
It was Get the Vaccine Facts, Ask a Doctor campaign, and that's where we were in Kailicha. I was in Mitchell's Plain, etc. We looked at all the areas where the uptake of the vaccine was low, and I literally went in there and I asked people why. So I got a list of frequently asked questions of maybe more than 200 or 250 frequently asked questions that I had to pass the myths with. But what I wanted to say is we're getting into political season. So I'm not politically aligned. People, let me just make that straight. I'm not politically aligned. But if there's any politician that is looking for a manifesto to go with, I think if you will tell people in South Africa, you're going to build more hospitals and you're going to provide more doctors or healthcare staff, you'll probably get a following. Look,
we don't, through this show, we don't endorse any political party.
No, we don't.
And we're not aligned to any, and I'm 100% aligned with you. I'm not a subscriber to it. But I think what you are actually touching on is a very, very sensitive subject, because if you think about it, accessing medical facilities has become a challenge. And for many people die because they don't have access to these facilities. For a lack of a uninformed piece of work that I could probably ask, what is then the solution? Because if you're thinking about it from the public policy, and we're just talking public policy, we're analyzing what's happening in our society. The NHI being the solution, there's lots of different views with regards to this, and if you don't have to comment on this matter, please, by all means, I'll respect your views. But one would argue that it's probably the vehicle that could solve these problems, but you are actually coming with a different perspective where you say the ratio of public hospitals and private hospitals to the population that we have there's no correlation. And how do we solve?
Okay, so when you want to solve something, you need to have all stakeholders on board. So I think the biggest stakeholder in this whole equation is the patient. So my first stance is primary health care. And I believe that we need to educate our people more. So educating them more on what the conditions are and promoting health more. Okay. You see, people only realize or experience the healthcare system when it stands in front of their door. If there's nothing wrong with you or with your family, you don't know what's going on. You don't have a clue what is going on. It is only when you are there. So I think that's too late. I think that's too late. So that's one of the reasons why I get onto TikTok is just to tell people these are the symptoms and this is what's going to happen. If you don't trust me, take the TikTok with to your own doctor and play the TikTok to your own doctor or to your own nurse. Or when you go to hospital, show it to that doctor or to that nurse. I think the biggest thing that we are lacking in the world nowadays is prevention. So if I tell you as a doctor, hey Thames, I need to see you 3 times a year. Make sure you don't have any issues. Make sure there's no swekile. There's no high. There's no high. There's no matambo. There's nothing of those things. So maybe I must translate in English so people can understand. There's no high blood. There's no diabetes. There's no cholesterol. There's no HIV. Because people just say iagula. They are sick. Or the legs are swollen. Thembisile. So before we even get there, I can prevent it. If you see me at least 2 or 3 times a year, but then what is people going to say? That guy wants to make money. There's nothing wrong with me. So being healthy, or let me just get this word right now. So being healthy doesn't always mean it's the absence of sickness. Being healthy can also be, where I come from, it's a community that's reactive and not proactive. So that's what I'm saying. The more you learn, the more you move in life, the more you move in certain circles, or the more you educate yourself, equip yourself, you can make better informed decisions. So I haven't even touched NHI and all those things. Because if the patients are equipped, you don't need to build all this infrastructure. It will then just be there, as a backup, or where people can use it to crisis. Because look, our genetical factors we can't exclude. So if somebody's at risk of developing cancer, of course they will get it. But you know what? If you live a preventative or healthy lifestyle, you can actually push it out. Yeah. You can push it further. It is sometimes our bad habits that brings these things on a bit sooner.
Kind of postpone it to later stages of your life.
So let me just give you my opinion on NHI.
Sure.
It's a very simple one. Because I've traveled South Africa quite extensively. I've been to rural, I've been to metros, I've been to urban, I've traveled the world extensively. The NHI is not a bad model because it gives everybody the access. The problem is, and I'm going to tell you now, the problem is that is everybody's fear, especially when there's a cloud of corruption hanging, is who's going to control the pot of money. So people are not actually against the NHI. They are more worried about, will they get paid? Will there be money for access? Because the government says they're going to pay for everything. So it is more unanswered questions from the public that is causing anxiety than actually attacking the model of NHI.
Okay.
When you hear this whole thing, just hear what people are saying.
The fear of, in fact, of a reference point of known, gauging from the experiences that they may have. So now, Doc, I think I like your thinking because you start at a per capita level, then you build it up to, of course, the holistic view in terms of national level, in terms of how these things could be solved. And in that space, you start to see the trends that if you start to be stronger on the education side,
Yes.
because most of the time people are reactive. Reactive in a sense that prevention, as you have alluded, prevention is better than cure. We always play and put more money in the side of cure and neglect somehow the element of prevention. Any activities in your space currently that you are driving to ensure that there's more knowledge, there's more understanding, there's more awareness with regards to all of these things?
Yeah.
And for the listeners at home, thank you for joining our deposit, or rather our installment of Hustlers and Free Enterprise. Today we're taking a rather different route because we must look after the hustlers as well. You know, we're thinking about that mother who is a single mother who has to leave home in the morning, traveling to work from Kailicha to Camps Bay, traveling in cold weather conditions. How do you sustain that hustler? She's got a child whom she must look after, and if her health is not well looked after, how does she sustain that? We think about Ugogo, who's there in Mineville for that matter, where Randall is coming from, who doesn't necessarily have the means to put food on the table or sustain her medical demands, medical bills demands. How do we help her to sustain? And that's why we're having this conversation with Randall Ortel. And Dr. Randall is a qualified doctor from the University of Stellenbosch and is sharing those insights with us.
Yeah, so, I mean, if I just look at something simple. So vaccines is nowadays a swear word, depending on who hears it. It's like ESCOM, eh? Almost if you use ESCOM, it's also like a swear word. So, a simple example. So I came down with flu,
Sure.
with the influenza virus on Monday.
Oh, shucks.
Now, I had the vaccine on board. I've got the flu vaccine on board. So people are like, but you're getting sick. I'm like, don't worry, I'll be back tomorrow. I just needed a good sleep of 10 hours with some medications, some anti-allergy medications and so forth, because my nose was blocked, and some water and some rest. The next day I was at work, my friend, alive and kicking. There's people that don't have the vaccine, even for 5 days. So now, if you're employed, it's easy because you get sick leave. If you get paid for the work you deliver, you can't afford that.
Yeah.
So you can imagine my message that I preach, and I want people to understand this. Medicine is not universal for everyone. I have to individualize for the patient that I'm seeing. So if you are not keen on the vaccine, don't spread all the myths about you, or you are not keen, because you are in a favorable position. There's somebody else that is not in that favorable position, and the vaccine will help them. Another example, high blood pressure. Now the other day I walked past the pharmacy, somebody went to check if they had high blood pressure and so forth, which I think was excellent. The friends were saying, you're wasting your time, it's always normal. But that is what we want. We want blood pressure to be normal. I don't want to measure blood pressure and then it's abnormal.
No, for sure.
Because then you're having a problem. So they come out and they mock this lady. So I just call the ones and I'm like, you know what, don't worry me. If they must do their blood pressure, I will probably be out. So, and it's like, that's actually true. They're more absent than we at work. So, I mean, there's various other examples that I can pick out, that I can't think of now. But I mean, telling people what are the symptoms of diabetes on TikTok. Being thirsty, passing a lot of urine, always tired, itching, sores not healing, that type of thing. People get tested, they got a diagnosis, boom, they jump onto treatment, they live a healthier lifestyle, and the diabetes is under control. It doesn't mean when you diagnose with diabetes, you're going to die. It doesn't mean when you're diagnosed with HIV, you are going to die. Doesn't mean if you're diagnosed with hypertension, you're going to die. So, where I find this always, if I explain these things to the patient, then what do they normally say? Doctor, I didn't know. So now I'm putting it out there, what people don't know. If you need the information, you can take it. If you don't want it,
tough luck.
Pass it on.
And I shouldn't say tough luck. You should pass it on. I think. Well, if you don't want it, pass it on.
Yeah.
I've been talking about this because if you think about, I was show for starters, is to look after hustlers. We want hustlers. We need more. I mean, if you look at the South African economy at large, South African economy is in a situation where it's not producing enough employment opportunities, right? And we want it to produce employment opportunities. We want to have more hustlers. Because in the context of having more hustlers, it simply means hustlers in the form of entrepreneurs and stuff. When you have those individuals, it means if an entrepreneur can employ about 3 people, I've been an entrepreneur and I've seen this. Got 3 employees. Out of that 3 employees, believe me, you are literally feeding about 9 people.
Yeah.
Minimum, each person would be looking after 3 in African families. And we know that's just being overly, call it cautious with the number. It can go up to 5 per person. Now, you need that person to continually run. That body must continually run. I mean, I had a friend who lived in Mitchell's Plain, Said Adams. I met him in 2003. Said succumbed to COVID-19. I saw his picture. In fact, his daughter was doing medicine in Stellenbosch. I think she's done now. And I was hurt to learn about his death. He was an entrepreneur. And as we know, with most entrepreneurs, access to medical aid is probably something that's not there. What is your advice? You've already given us an unpacked couple of things now. What is your advice to these individuals? How do they look after themselves to make sure that they keep fit, they create and build that runway? And of course, there's other solutions that they can access, but those that are reasonable and affordable, and means that they could help, themselves to stay in the siege of not having the resources and funds to afford the medical aid.
Yeah. So look, again, it comes down to equipping yourself,
Sure.
To reading, to being educated. So I'm going to start with the latter. So I actually did a survey and I discovered that a lot of people don't actually know the difference between a medical aid and medical insurance. Okay? So I'm giving people a lot of nuggets to think about here tonight. So your traditional medical aid is, you can go to the doctor, etc. You can go to the hospital. If you need to be admitted, it's paid for, depending on the plan that you are. Medical insurance covers you for primary health care or for preventative visits. Now, I don't want to endorse any company, but I've done some work for this kid. Okay, so they've got these nursing sisters there. So you can go. You can have your blood pressure taken. You can have your cholesterol down, etc. There's a smaller fee that you pay a month. Of course, you can't be admitted to a hospital because it's not a full-blown medical aid. But the way I empower my people is like, if you go for those visits routinely and religiously, and you know what is going on in your body yourself, then you have targeted, you can do targeted therapy. So if you know you've got high cholesterol, it doesn't mean you have to run 10 kilometers a day. It just means you have to stop taking fatty foods. So, who wants to exercise without a goal?
No, definitely.
Or who wants to go and work without knowing how much they're going to get paid?
No, definitely.
Even the average guy on the road is going to ask you when you stop and they run to your car, hey, how much, bro? How much for the day?
How much am I getting out of this?
There's a target.
Yeah.
So if you know what you are dealing with, you will then know how to prevent it or how to work towards that target. So I always tell people that, or people that just tell me, hey, bro, we're running every night, we're doing this, we're doing that. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll join you maybe 3 times a week or something. We know, cardiac exercise is good. Getting the heart pumping, sweating, that's excellent. But why are you doing that? If you're telling me it's only for cardiac health, I'm going to say you're doing a good job. Let's say you want to lose weight, or you want to do this, or you want to strengthen, or you want to tone, then you've got to do something that's more specific. So you can't improve what you don't measure.
Oh, definitely.
So if you know exactly what's wrong with you. So again, I'm not speaking against medical aid. I've got medical aid. I've enrolled my parents on medical aid. My brother has medical aid. And of course, I can't pay for the whole family. But when it comes to the family, it's also about prevention. So I try and teach them. They make use of the state facilities. And they don't have an issue because they are prepared when they go. So they know I'm going for my blood pressure now, or I'm going for my medication. And these things are for free in South Africa. I mean, I've got friends in Tanzania, other parts of the world. I was shocked to learn that nothing is for free, whether it's in government. If you need to go to the hospital, you need to pay. Even though you're a citizen,
you have to pay.
You have to pay. So I think if people are not well traveled or well read, etc., those are always your most opinionated people. And unfortunately, they pull a huge crowd with them. So the one thing I've also had to learn, especially if you're a hustler, it doesn't matter if 100 people is against you. If your spirit feels that you're doing the right thing, my friend or my sister, you carry on. Because it's only the truth that can set you free.
And most people won't see it for you, Randall. That's just the truth of the matter. They won't see it for you. Rand, it's 10 minutes before the top of the hour, and I really, really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah.
But I don't wanna let go before you tell us about the second surprise that you want to give for your followers. If you are ready at all, we're looking forward to the book.
Yeah.
I'll drop some suggestions on what you should title the book. And you could probably title it Hustlers and Free Enterprise. How about that? But please share if there's a way that you could share the second surprise for your followers and listeners of Keith Ngesi Radio.
Yeah, I'll do. I maybe do 2 and 3 together.
Sure.
I don't want to to spoil people too much. Maybe no, I'm joking. Okay, so the second one is obviously I'm a specialist. I mean, people know that. I mean, I made waves in December. To my surprise, every media house literally contacted me and interviewed me when I obtained my master's from the University of Cape Town. So I'm a fully fledged specialist. I'm registered with the Health Professions Council as a specialist. So I encourage people you can check me out. The proof is in the pudding.
Sure.
So you can Google my name or Google with HPCSA and you'll find my credentials there. But I think the third and the biggest announcement I want to make is something that I never thought I would achieve. In fact, I'm actually a hospital manager now.
Oh, wow.
So, look, I don't want to mention the hospital's name because otherwise people will start making a line there. You see me?
So congratulations, man. Congratulations. When did this gig land?
Yeah, so this gig landed already maybe in April or so.
Okay.
May.
Uh-huh.
Can't remember exactly. But I was too minded there. Because I knew the task that was ahead of me. I stalled. I was traveling at the time as well. And then eventually the HR person just called me and said, look, dude, we can't wait anymore. You need to decide now.
What's happening?
Yeah, so I agreed, and then I started on the 1st of June.
Dude, I'm happy for you, man.
And for this past 7 weeks, it's been an amazing experience. And that's probably the reason why I haven't been on TikTok. Because also, if you want to be a hustler, you've got to know the rules. So, of course, I'm working in the Western Cape government. It's a fantastic institution or organization to work for. Sure. But there's rules. So the higher you go into management and so forth, you can't just be jumping on social media and doing things. So I applied and I first made sure that I got permission. There's people that would know. There's something that you call the RWAPs, it's remuneration outside of the public service. Yeah. So of course there are certain gigs that I get remunerated for. And again, I said, honesty is the best policy. I declared these things up front. Yeah, definitely. I made sure I got the permissions, and so you can be lucky, Thembi. I mean, you catch me at the right time, and my RWAS was just signed. So that's why I'm with you here. So people will start seeing me more often on TikTok now, and I can tell you I've got some juicy stories coming in. I mean, I'm seeing things from an elevated, from a bird's eye view now. Absolutely. And not just with one patient in front of me. And then maybe the fourth big announcement is I'm definitely 2 steps closer to becoming the Minister of Health. I won't say if it's provincial or national, but I've been informed by my mentors. Look,
I think I've observed your passion. I think one thing that's really stands out for me is your passion about what you do. Yeah. And you attract these things because of your passion, And many people become grumpy, when you go to You drive through to McDonald's. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be mentioning names and stuff. But when you drive through or going, you find these individuals with this attitude of, they just want to deal with you and, disappear. And I understand at times they're tired and so forth. But I think I always tell them, and my kids and wife will always say, no, leave them. I said, no, I must actually help them. To understand that when you are positive about life and things, you attract positive things to your life.
No, that's true. And, I was just thinking of two things my grandmother would always tell me. So she would obviously say it in Afrikaans because that's our main lingo in Cape Town, but I'll say it in English for the benefit of everybody.
No, gooi in Afrikaans, let me hear it in Afrikaans.
But she says if you work with a mechanic, or if you hang around a mechanic, you won't get soiled with oil.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, there will be something that will splatter on you. I mean, you might not be full of oil like he is with his hands, or she is, but you get female mechanics as well. So you will be splattered with oil. So it depends the company you keep as well. So if you're a hustler and you surround yourself with a company that you're envisaging where you want to be, you are calling that positiveness to come and fetch you.
And the truth of the matter, you can't actually, that's actually beautiful and nicely narrated. Thanks for sharing. You can't attract positive things if you're constantly negative. And to your point, or grandmother's point, the things that you're attracting to your life are consistent with your behavior and how you do things. Yeah,
so you got to move. And I mean, the people that's close to me in management would know. I mean, it's gangster's paradise. I say it with ease, but I'm not proud about it because I mean it inconveniences many of our lives. I mean, here or there, I have to take a detour with the normal route I would drive because there's gang violence or there's shooting. Because I mean, you got to fear that you get caught in a crossfire. And I mean, I know the damage that a bullet can do. I mean, even though it's not intended for you. I mean, if it touches your spine, you can be paralyzed. I mean, it can hit the blood vessel. Your leg can be amputated, etc. So it does inconvenience your life. But what I wanted to say is no, I forgot.
No, don't worry.
I think I had too many thoughts now that I wanted to share at the same time, because I see the time is catching up with us,
So if at all, because I know listeners of Keith Ngesi Radio around South Africa and likely globally who track this show and who are listeners of the show, and now they want to reach out to Randall, what are your handles? How do they reach you?
Sure. So maybe that's one thing that Keith can help me with is maybe a PA to check all my messages because I give all my handles, but I never get the chance to check it. No, I'm joking. So look, I mean, Facebook probably works.
Sure.
People inbox me on Facebook,
Uh-huh.
and then TikTok. They inbox me or message me. I am horrible, people. Look, I probably don't want to give my number directly now because otherwise my phone will be off the hook. I mean, via Thembisile or Keith or something. I mean, people can probably just pick up my number or something, or my email address. I think I can probably give my email address because on TikTok it's just Randall, Randall, dot Ortel with one L, so it's ORTEL @gmail.com. I think that's as easy as it gets. So RANDALL dot ORTEL @gmail.com. People, please forgive me. I am a bit slow when it comes to replying now because being a hustler and you become successful, God says your cup will overflow when He blesses you.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm at that space now where I'm probably looking at, getting a personal PA and, especially in my private space, because I'm just not getting to everything. Because
definitely.
I also have to preserve my mental health.
No, definitely.
So I try to box things in. I only TikTok for an hour. I have to pay attention to my work. It's a little bit more strenuous now. It's a bit of more responsibility. So you can imagine if I come home, I need to focus on the book. Weekends, I want to rest. I've also got a daughter. She comes to me every second weekend. So I'm co-parenting, which I'm not shy to say. I mean, these things come up.
Yeah, no,
but at the end of the day, it's a blessing for me.
Absolutely.
And she keeps me grounded.
Absolutely. I think you touched on something that we want to take into our next episode next week, It's Hustlers and Free Enterprise, and tonight we had the privilege of having Randall Ortel, Dr. Randall Ortel. Rand, thanks very much for blessing us with your presence here. We really appreciate it. And Randall, I think I'm going to hold him. He's going to be a friend of this show, and every cycle, quarter, and so forth, he will come and bless us with his blessing, with his presence.
Yeah.
And we want to learn more. I mean, his insights based on the new ventures that he's going to be taking on, the book that he'll be writing. We'd like to also see it when it's launched here on Keith and Casey Radio.
Yeah.
And next week, please look out. Next week, we want to talk about hustlers' mental health. We heard it from the doctor. What's happening in that space? Where are our hustlers in terms of mental well-being? And next week, we want to talk to that. And if you join, or it's your first time to join us, please continue to do so. Download our app, keep it handy, set up your alarm so that you don't miss out on our show. And this is how we wrap up our show today. And thanks very much. We're giving back to the East London crew from this point. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Ben.